You know, we said draft really important this one. We'll be flying in once again. We've seen the bans come out, and LGD back on blue side like we saw in game one. They've done the exact same bans. Suning, they've done the same bans they did in game one, except they switched the LeBlanc for the Renekton. And this time LGD, instead of the first pick Renekton, obviously they go for the Nocturne, which they took third last game.
Yeah, a lot of setup potential here for LGD. They got to see it come out well for Suning last game around. They're going to pick it up this time for themselves. And we get the first lock-in for Suning. It's going to be the Lee Sin yet again.
Yeah, I mean, it worked for them, so why not? And looks like they might end up bringing out the Sett once more. Obviously, flexibility, you can put both of those either top or mid, and also the Lee Sin can even go jungle. Although, I feel like with the clear speed importance when it comes to this matchup, I don't think we'll see a Lee Sin in the jungle. But actually, very quick response. Shadow with the Volibear, something that we have seen teams the fair bit of priority on. A lot of pressure in terms of ganking power, and scales pretty well. You can easily set up dives. And then Xiye on the Sylas again. Now, good thing, Xiye is really good on the Sylas. I will definitely say that. But the downside is that you're into the Lee Sin once more, and we saw that matchup not be ideal for him.
Yeah, he wasn't able to get the lead that he wanted in the mid lane. And I want to harken back to the Volibear pick that you were talking about. I have seen Shadow pick it up already once before in this split, as well as, you know, solo queue plays and things like that. And I felt like he had a dominating performance on the pick last time around. So very excited to see what he can do with this composition as well. I don't know if I necessarily like the synergies that are initially here. We'll see how it all ties up for LGD, as they have a lot of pieces to move on. And the Rumble coming out for Suning is going to be a very stable one for SofM.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the Rumble Sett combo as something that can sort of establish so much pressure. And you're seeing, if you look at the bans, Ezreal was already gone. We're seeing the Tom Kench, the Thresh. These are a lot of the defensive tools that a bot lane would love to use to be able to survive all this dive threat. So again, Huanfeng and Kramer potentially going to be vulnerable targets in this next game. See what LGD's final ban is here. Senna been pretty high priority so far in these, but and it does look like they will end up banning that one away, and now it is over to Suning. I would prefer to see an AD carry picked up here, and then you can transition to your support pick on the next rotation. Typically for Huanfeng, we have, you know, Jinx is an option, Kaisa, even the Kog'Maw is something he's brought out early in the split, but I feel like it's difficult to isolate what will survive here.
Yeah, and I mean, you gotta think the Kaisas of the world, the Jinxes, things like that are on the table here, and it will be Kaisa for Huanfeng, so he'll be able to pick that one up. A little bit of synergy with his team, but not so much. And you're looking at that support pickup to really tie that together. And now it's up to LGD to pick their final two pieces, to find the tie-in for their composition. What is Kramer going to be rocking? Are we going to get the damage carry from him? Is it going to be more supportive? Are we going to see something come out from Mark that enables his roaming a little bit better than maybe last time around? I think the Leona looked really good, but he just wasn't able to get it going. And the Aphelios is the actual lock-in for LGD. So they have a very strong later game ADC with some serious teamfight potential going for them already.
Yeah, and it does really well into the Kaisa in the laning phase. And on top of that, if you can survive the dive threat, you're really good at just shredding everything that comes near you. But it's a big if. Kramer needs to be absolutely on fire in this game. And we see the Nautilus coming out as something that can just, you know, use that point and click ultimate on the Kaisa or the Lee Sin. If they do try and dive in onto your AD carry, it does open up that Braum pick though. And with a lot of auto attackers on the side of Suning, it would have a lot of value. But instead, they are committing to the engage. And I feel like, you know, if they do lock this Rell in, I would prefer it. Rell or Rakan, both fine for me, but commit the engage.
And the Magnet Storm on top of the equalizer here for SofM, a lot of synergy there, but also just their CC available to synergize with the plasma stacks from Huanfeng, and a lot of damage to come out of that team composition as well. I think both of these teams are set up in the ways that they kind of are a final evolving to here in this best of 3 series. You're seeing pieces, bits and pieces from the rest of the series littered throughout, but strengths are shining through for both sides. I love to see Shadow on this Volibear. I love to see Angel on the Sett with the combination of the Rell, Kaisa in the bot lane. It's just about the things that we set up for them beforehand in this series, how these teams like to play, where the execution comes down to, and how this mid lane works out yet again.
Yeah, and I think the mid lane is going to be vital for who can apply that pressure on the map. Jungle matchup a bit different this time, so could potentially see Shadow try to find an advantage on that Volibear, but obviously Rumble, such a quick clearer, hard to keep pace with. But I think the dynamic of teamfights is an interesting one because there's a lot of space building on the side of LGD. Obviously, with the Nocturne and the Sylas, you can create areas that make it very difficult to push through in just terms of getting range of those champions and the paranoia. But if we see a heavy engage come out from Suning and they're able to blow Kramer up, like we saw with that Kalista game, we could just see a fight over as soon as it starts.
Yeah, I think that's the big deciding factor here is, you know, with both of these ADCs, you are looking at the hyperscaling nature of them and how much damage they can output in the team fights in the later game. We saw Kramer on the Kalista, not so great at that positioning, at least on that shorter range pick. But this time around, you're able to get a little bit more range, at least on the Aphelios, a little bit more versatility in that factor as well. And you're seeing the League of Conqueror take place here as we load in to game number 3. One of these teams, Aux, will move forward in the standings. They'll take that leg up over the other. Both are tied at 2 and 3. 10th place in the LPL in this summer split. Who takes the win? Suning versus LGD. Game number 3 starts now.
Oh, and it really does start now. Fearness going for a bit of an aggressive ward. He will just be chased away.
Gonna be some corrupting pot posted up for Fearness there. Not gonna burn the flash or anything like that, but did a little bit of aggression early on. He got the ward though. That's all that matters.
Yeah, but the thing is, it does mean he's a little bit vulnerable in lane in terms of just being down that crafting pot. And I would expect Bin to find an advantage in the 1v1. And as well, on top of that, this is a Nocturne with flash. We've typically seen a lot of the Nocturnes running the Ignite for that extra kill pressure. So Fearness may end up potentially being a little bit of trouble in the top lane matchup, but I'm sure he'll be able to hold out. Now, on the other side, we did actually see Kramer and Mark going for a leash. So Ang and Huanfeng are actually able to find an advantage and should hit level 2 first in that lane matchup.
And we're finally getting opposite side pathing, at least for these junglers so far. Could still end up in, you know, headbutting the same direction, but for right now, at least the early start for both these junglers is going to be a tad different for the first time of the series. And I think it still lends a lot. Like we talked about the mid lane matchup, we've also hearkened, or at least talked a lot about, hyped up a lot, the jungle support synergy, the duos that develop there. But it's also just specifically these junglers, right? Like Shadow took complete control of game number 1. SofM had a more calm approach to game number 2, but he shut Shadow out of that game. And game number 3, I feel like a lot of that pressure does fall onto the shoulders of both these junglers.
Absolutely, and I think that early ward kind of gave a lot of information to Shadow, and it indicates he knows that, you know, he's given SofM the rumble. He knows what can be done with that champion. We saw it in game 1, his aggressive play where he looks to invade, and by getting that information, potentially limiting that factor and avoiding falling behind early, because Shadow does not want to be closed out of the game in the early levels, wants to be able to make an impact for the team.
Yep, and we saw the scuttle pathing for SofM. It's going to be to the bot scuttle. Already going to be able to go ahead and secure that one as the clear is just a tad bit slower for Shadow on the Volibear. We'll get up there later on, but just needs a little bit extra time early on to get rolling. It will be that scuttle secured. So junglers just going to be continuing to farm up. I do also feel like it's going to be just like last game where both these teams really waiting for those level 6 marks to feel confident in their engages.
Yeah, and I think there's so many tools available when we hit that point. But now, though, we've seen that priority achieved mid and bot for Suning, which allows SofM to be pretty comfortable. On the other side, you can see that once more, like game 1, Shadow trying to apply that pressure to the top lane. But the big thing is, Bin kind of expects it and he's prepared. He's able to dash away with his ward hop. This is a very safe pick in the top lane, with essentially a free dash and then your flash on top of that. So the LGD may not have too much of an easy time trying to find a kill there. And again, mid lane, Xiye, great on the Sylas, really solid pick for him, and actually has managed to find a CS lead over Angel, but is so far losing in terms of priority.
Yeah, interesting to me that we did see the switch up of the matchup there. We did see the Lee Sin in mid lane. We are getting that matchup in top lane. Bin in some trouble. He has SofM right here on the corner, and Fearness realizes that at the last moment. Still almost finds the damage enough to kill Ben, but Ben will have to be out of that fight. No flash is burned though. I really like the calmness coming out from these top laners as Xiye finds a nice trade on the Angel, but Angel's found the better one. The flash haymaker! Angel makes Xiye regret his decisions.
And Xiye was feeling confident in the matchup, stepping up. Angel relishing in the opportunity to get up close and personal with the Sylas, dunks him, and then the beautiful flash follow. Angel really putting down a statement after that game 2 MVP.
Definitely is. We'll see that level 5 fight here between the two, and when you flash first, you know the follow-up's always going to be there.
Yeah, and I think the thing as well is, well, one, it was a bit of an early flash. You leave it a little bit later, and you potentially would have been able to not allow Angel time to react. But also, Xiye felt confident because he had a stacked wave. He's like, okay, he's not going to fight with the creeps, but it's a Sett. He doesn't care if you have a stacked wave. He has a haymaker to give him a massive shield. He will fight you. And in this case, end up winning. So found that advantage already. And SofM with the priority bot lane, the advantage mid is just going to easily pick up this dragon.
Will be first dragon secured by Suning, keeping up the tempo here against LGD. Something we said LGD is the one that wants to usually go for. I like it from Suning. As Shadow's actually hovering the mid lane here. Wants to try to find Angel, maybe a little bit of revenge coming down here as Xiye is going to get half of his health bar taken down while they take the dragon. And that's not the trade you really want to see your mid laner taking while you're setting up a gank for Shadow.
No, really not ideal. And Shadow's been a little bit subdued because top lane hasn't been an easy lane to necessarily gank. Although we are seeing a pretty big CS advantage between them.
He's found Angel. The paranoia was there too. And Angel might have bitten off a little bit more than he could chew. The showstopper's going to get him back, but Angel dies. And the combo of Fearness and Shadow might get another kill here. They do. My goodness, LGD strike without abandon.
Yeah, and we see Ong turning up, but the play is too late. It's already happened, and this is kind of all stemming from Bin. He has really suboptimally played this lane, and as a result, Fearness has such an advantage. Already had the level 6, able to just engage straight onto Angel, and then Bin wasn't strong enough to really counteract it. And I've got to be critical of Bin here. Didn't have the best game 2 by any margins. Didn't have, I mean, game 2 was okay, but game 1 was tragic. And now in this game 3, looking like a massive vulnerability to the team. Your mid laner finds an advantage and you're throwing it all the way topside. You're 20 CS down, and now 2 kills onto Fearness, who is looking great so far in this game.
And we saw how vital the paranoias were last game to Suning's success. Now LGD have that tool moving forward, and a fed one to boot. 2-0 is going to feel really good for Fearness on this Nocturne, enabling this man to potentially carry, and especially with the engages for his team. And Suning know that, right? They're sending members towards the top side of this map. SofM is trying to continue to get advantages where he can and where it's possible for him to do so, as he wants to try to be the lifeline for Ben in that top lane.
The thing is, I feel like it's a scenario where he has to be the lifeline, but you'd love to be playing around bot lane in this situation. You have such good setup and engage. You'd love to be able to move your bot lane up to the dragon, but you're kind of forced to babysit Bin in this situation. I don't even think he can go.
Oh, he's gonna go for it under tower. That was a bad call. No, it's not. It's a trade. The 1v1 goes both ways. 3-2 to Suning. Now after they get that kill, they're trying to find things. I don't know if that's the way you want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, just as I'm flaming Bin, he manages to find a window back in onto Fearness there. And actually, it's a favorable trade. You get a massive shutdown off the back of that. You will take that when you're behind. Manages to land the skills, manages to execute. And as much as it's a 1-for-1, you're pretty happy in that situation, especially as Shadow is looking towards that Rift Herald, confident that his top laner was in a stronger position of power. But Fearness ends up dropping the ball a little bit on that one, and Herald is going to be delayed.
We're going to get a chance to see that there, at least the craziness that followed. I was trying to point out Shadow in the river because he was waiting for SofM to come down further to take the fight, because he knows if he face checks him, he'll take it. Didn't matter though, because SofM just turns back top lane for Ben, and they just find Fearness. So very nicely done, and the heads up play from Suning. This does mean that the objective focus is now here for LGD, but they don't really have the means to do so. Mid lane was in some trouble, so Shadow came down. They find the stun onto Angel, but Angel showstoppers him right out, and Xiye is already down.
Yeah, really quick execution coming out. It looked like initially LGD were the ones looking for the play, but soon able to respond, and all that control and CC, too much for the Sylas. And this is the difference. Sett relishes in these skirmishes. If you target him first, you'll often lose. Oh, engage coming in though.
Shadow going in for a 1v3, backed up by the paranoia, backed up by the damage that Fearness can put down, but is it enough? The haymaker comes out. It's a lot of damage back on LGD, but there is the Moonlight Vigil to turn it around. Suning are running now, but the blast cone is gonna bring on right into the jaws of the trap. And that will be a Rift Herald picked up by LGD.
Honestly, Suning looked like they maybe could find a way back into that when Bin turned up, but critically we see Kramer turning up before Huanfeng in that fight, and as a result the numbers advantage is there. Heavy skirmishing coming out in this game 3. It feels like game 1 and game 2 one side was favored pretty consistently, but in this one a lot of back and forth between the two. Now we'll get the replay. So this one opens up and it's the engage from LGD, but Xiye gets caught in the mix, and all this CC being thrown down on top of the damage coming out from the Rumble is just too much for the Sylas to survive at this early point. So initially things are looking favored for Suning there, but obviously backfire in the later fight.
I think that calls for a buff to Kingslayer, don't you think? I mean, I don't think it's broken. I think we should.
Yeah, why doesn't he heal 1,000 HP at this level?
Like,
you know?
Yeah, and a shield. I think we should give him that. Maybe even pop GA for it now. But in all actuality,
maybe just every time you Kingslayer, you get a free Kale ult. Right.
Yeah. I think that's the plan. I know Ryan's listening here. So we do see LGD starting up their first dragon of the game. Will be the second total dragon of this game, and then Suning aren't able to, or at least don't want to respond to this.
Yeah, I think they're just happy to give this one up. Not really in a position to respond. The Angel is coming off a reset there, although they are looking for playing bot, and the engage potential is real. I am looking for on here to try and find something. If you get the dismount into the Magnet Storm, it's a very easy equalizer setup, but it looks like LGD are just going to back away, and the window doesn't really end up opening up. Now, we were like, okay, been able to find that 1v1 kill, but despite that, he's still really far behind. He's two levels down on Fearness here. He is like not having a good time.
Too.
Yeah, this is only really his own fault, because he was the one who took that over heavy trade, wasn't able to crush the wave, and as a result got a massive CS disadvantage earlier. Really just came down to individual misplay is why we resulted with this massive discrepancy between the top laners.
And the biggest question is how either of these teams really play through this top lane. Is it going to be, you know, that heavy focus from LGD to continue to get Fearness ahead on the Nocturne, to continue to get that tool ahead and let Xiye get scaling, let Kramer get to scaling and continue to focus where you know you're strong? Or if you try to transition that somewhere else? It definitely looks like LGD are opting into what I was talking about here and maybe just trying to push Ben to the edge.
Oh, there's the Mark roam up. He's coming to assist, and they have the Herald. I think if you take this top tower, you free Fearness up to move around, and with the paranoia, that is a massive threat. Suning are not in a position to match. Now, is he on going mid to try and secure mid priority? And obviously this is the concern, is that Angel will be able to move in most scenarios, but I'm not sure there really is much of a response here. That's just the tower gone, and this will free Fearness up, sort of apply that gold advantage around the map.
We'll see how Fearness can do so. It's been really interesting to see the growth, at least in this last week or so, for Fearness, and just see him kind of come into his own here on the LGD squad, really as a strong member here where they can potentially play through, as we're seeing in this one. And I still would like to see a little bit more gold on Shadow to get going. I feel like the clearing is not in his favor here. So not having that extra gold influx from getting the kills is kind of hurting. But you're still in the lead, right? You've still gotten the advantage because of those assists. But you know how quick Rumble's clearing can be and how he can get all over the map. And that's just what I'm waiting to be unlocked here for SofM.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, hasn't really been able to have as much of an impact. And I think that's the thing, is the Volibear, although not as fast at clearing the jungle, a lot of gank pressure in those early levels. Yeah. And ultimately, as things have panned out, you know, bot lane's been pretty quiet, but as a result, Kramer's been fine just to play this matchup. Actually going for the shield bow on the Aphelios, so a lot more survivability than we typically see. Obviously, in this scenario, I don't question it. I'll be honest. I think it makes a lot of sense. A lot of threats to dive on top of you. And ultimately, we've seen Kramer make a lot of mistakes with regards to his positioning. So finding a window to survive pretty
800
pretty
to
difficult
0 in turret plates for LGD. They're really good at getting those turret plates. Fearness not very good at getting out of death, as he's just going to be stride breaking away, trying to buy some time here. But the paranoia does come down. They've got the Fearness is still alive. How did that happen? Xiye is now taking the brunt of the damage, going to be in some trouble. Showstopper comes back, and Xiye pays for the sins of Fearness.
Xiye just stepping to...
Oh, wait, Shadow. Wait, hold on. You don't need to do that to the man, all right? Stormbringer doesn't get him over the wall. He's going to take a lot of damage here, and he's eventually just going to go down. That is another big pickup for Suning as they get 2 kills off of it.
And she's so weak on this Sylas in comparison to these skirmishes on the top side. Angel on this set feels really hard as a target to kill. Bin, despite the fact he's behind the lane matchup, comfortable, but she just constantly is picked off first, and as a result, Suning able to clean up and find an advantage now. You see the bot tower form return, but I mean, in this replay, it's just
survive.
Yeah, I mean, the spell shield pretty nice, the paranoia by time, and then Shadow comes in with the hero save on the back end, but then Xiye flash forward for what? I'm not really sure. Continues the fight, even though the whole plan was to save your top laner, and then the turnaround from Angel results in a kill. Just a little bit messy coming out from Xiye in this one. Not what we typically expect to see, but LGD still with advantage. They managed to secure that bot tower completely naturally, and I think it shows the Aphelios Kaisa matchup. Kramer really favored in this one, and because there hasn't been any gank pressure, it's allowed to just play out organically, and he's in a comfortable spot right now.
He definitely is. Now we have the first dragon of the Infernal Soul coming up onto the map here in about 5 seconds. Both teams already positioning around the area. Suning are the ones with the vision advantage. They also have the engage advantage here as Paranoia comes down. They've already used their equalizer. There's the Moonlight Vigil to get the double root as well. The Showstopper stolen away and used to shop the show, but they have the Haymaker to back it up. A lot of damage back on LGD. Now the TPs have completed. Ben is here. He misses the first kick, but he can find the redemption here if he can. Ben getting so low, has to dodge out of there with the Ward Hop. Suning get away after just losing a couple members. 2 for 1 in favor of LGD.
Yeah, and On tries to find an engage onto Kramer, but unable to connect, and he's just untouched in that fight. Honestly, feel like Suning weren't doing too bad for the most part, but it's just the fact that they didn't deal with Kramer, and he's absolutely shredding. Now, TP's coming back in. They're not giving this up yet.
They are not. Angel is here. That's a little bit scary at this point in the game. The Dragon's getting a little bit low, but guess who else is scary? It's Fearness. He immediately gets showstoppered and shut down here with a beautiful Prey Seeker from Huanfeng. The rest of the fight, LGD are scattered. LGD are scared. They're running, but they can't find the kills. Look at the re-engage in the pit. LGD are trying to make it the best of a bad situation, as Xiye is the only one alive against the 2 members from Suning. Xiye is looking for Huanfeng. Can't find him just yet. The Abscon Abduct not going to give him enough range. Angel starts back up the Dragon. They might want to think twice about it. Xiye has red and blue. Tries to go for Huanfeng. Doesn't find it for the second time. The Dragon at about 1,300 health. Now Xiye moves in to start doing the damage. He's going to take the Dragon. No! Oh, thought the Prey Seeker was going to do it. But second Dragon secured after a carousel of fun for LGD.
Absolute madness in these team fights. Even when I feel like one team is finding the advantage, the other one comes back swinging. Kramer, honestly, this video's paying dividends in these tight skirmishes. Now, we see Fearness going in a little bit too deep ultimately and getting clapped down onto. Good kill coming out from Huanfeng there, but watch Kramer in this scenario. Hong just doesn't have the damage to take him out quickly, and he does so much in return thanks to the shield bow low HP. Throws down the turret before he dies, which helps to kill off the Lee Sin. Really well played coming out from Kramer here, and he is testing the limits of this champion and it's delivering. In this dive composition from Suning, Aphelios is serving his purpose.
Yeah, it's fitting in like a glove here. And Rift Herald was actually started up by Shadow. Going to try to burn it down before the Baron spawns in about 30 seconds. They're also going to have priority on mid lane, so they can continue to push out if they need to. I feel like he might need a little help here to get this Rift Herald before the timer goes down. But Suning are in. The Hex Splash coming over the wall here for On. As On is the first one into the fight here for Suning. In some trouble here. The rest of the members, could they just go fight for this? It was stolen away by SofM, and Suning are moving forward. The equalizer came down, but here's the paranoia. The return for LGD from the side. They're going for the sniper shot. They found Ben. The Stormbringer comes forward, but the re-engage with the wombo combos for Suning. The haymaker for Angel's gonna be huge, but do they have the damage to follow it up? Huanfeng, very healthy. And SofM finds the solo kill for Xiye on the side, and they want more. They want the kills. That's going to be the shutdown as well. Angel goes down.
Oh, and he tries to find them in the end. I thought he had them, honestly. I thought the Haymaker would come in soon enough, but Kramer is doing so much damage. And honestly, I can simplify this so much. Suning needs to kill this Aphelios. That's all it comes down to. And until they do, he is going to continue to dominate these fights. And it feels like Suning just, it's not clicking for them. You know, the game plan is similar to that Kalista play that where we saw Angel with a beautiful Lee Sin flank in game 2, instantly deleting Kramer. You need that basically on repeat. This Aphelios has to die because right now you're engaging onto different targets and it just isn't working. Kill Kramer and the fight's yours.
A 6-in-1 Aphelios will do just that, changing the game shot by shot. And you have to say, LGD have been pretty clever on their re-engages. I love the paranoia usage coming out from Fearness, the delayed re-engage there. But you have to think about what Suning are looking to accomplish with their composition. They have a wombo combo from hell, and you just got caught up in it by LGD last time around. And I want to see if they can approach the fights in a different way to not get set up like that. Not let Angel just completely smash fights with this set.
Yeah, I want to see scenarios where they're finding these flank angles, where they're finding good approaches on the Kramer, because right now, Kramer on this Aphelios has a Runans, has a shield bow, closed on an Infinity Edge. There is 4 melee champions on Suning, and then Kaisa, who's extremely short range. Whenever anyone is in range of Kramer, apart from, I guess, an equalizer from SofM, every other time he is able to hit someone. And every time he does, he's dealing a ton of damage and he's healing. And so if you just run at him, he loves that. He will shred you, especially with all the, like, Infernum, great AoE, with Extendum, where he just absolutely shreds everyone. There is no approach like that that works well unless he dies. And I think if you come at him from multiple angles, it makes it much harder for him to survive. And I need more convincing engages because they are connecting, but not with the right people. You need Kramer locked down and destroyed. There needs to be like no avenue in which he even gets any damage out because he's just massacring everyone.
And you have the ways to do so, right? Like you have Angel who can get onto the back line. You have Ben who can find those kicks, those angles that you are looking for. And if it does get down to the nitty gritty and you got to go in for a 5v5 crazy wombo team fight, you have the Rell and the Rumble, but it's the target selection. It's that execution that we've been harping on constantly for both of these teams, and especially Suning when we're arriving to a point that we talked so highly for them. Their late game shot calling, their decision making in the team fights is huge, and it's exactly how they win fights and win games. And we're getting to that point now, but it's time to see it shine through.
Yeah, it's what we expect from them, but it hasn't quite been delivering yet in this game. They do have control of the Dragon area, though. Looking to contest this Dragon. And all I can say is for this entire fight, eyes are on Kramer. He is the pivotal carry in this game. We do see Fearness on a flank, though. We'll see what he can offer.
Available. They have Paranoia available as well for the flank. They do have the Dragon burning down right now for Suning. And it will just go down. It's tied 2-2 now in Dragons, in those neutral objectives here. And Suning walk away scot-free from it as well. So they'll be able to even that one up. As LGD still looking for the fights, looking for the potential tussles, but just trying to clear out some of this vision that was gained by Suning.
Yeah, and it felt like LGD weren't really seeing the approach that they could find and so ended up just backing off. I feel like potentially you could have like pushed in deeper and made sure that opportunity arose, but I think again, concerned that if they do so, it potentially leaves Kramer vulnerable. So, you know, losing that dragon, not great, but it's not exactly going to change the game. It's just going to stall it out. And when you have this Aphelios, I think you're feeling pretty comfortable. I believe he should be able to pick up his Infinity Edge after he's cleared a couple of camps here, and that's when he really starts pumping out the damage. And the thing is, no one on Suning really can sort of withstand that for an extended period of time. Angel's the closest, and even him he'll just get absolutely shredded. Not a great scenario to be in, but this is game 3. Remember, these two teams are so close in standings, and the emphasis on that, because not only do you push yourself up, but you also pull one of your close opponents down and give yourself better odds of sneaking away one of those playoff spots. So
that's what you're hoping for. At least. And it's also how you get there, I feel like, for both of these teams. Like, you're looking for that leg up here. I talked a little bit about it when we were floating into this third game, but like, you know, we're going into week 4. We're getting further along in the season, and you definitely want to be taking up those wins when you can and taking those legs up in the standings when you can. Both these teams, it would definitely mean a lot to the confidence for them moving forward, especially against matchups that they have further on down the road. But it starts here, and LGD and Suning are set up for some crazy later fights. We are already getting a lot of tussling, a lot of tension, at least in this mid lane, constantly between these two teams.
Absolutely, and LGD using the pressure to trying to play a dive here.
Yeah, they have found the time. The Stormbringer came out from Shadow, does actually get the tower as well from it. Fearness wants to go in for it, has to back out away immediately using that Stride Breaker. And they get the tower, they get the kill, and LGD, you know, tie it up 13-13 right now, but they have a 3K gold lead.
Yeah, and honestly, I just haven't been impressed with him. He's 0-5 now in this game, most deaths on his team. And like, considering how much Xiye was inting, he's tied up with him, but Suning looking to find LGD in this situation, but his LGD will just be able to back up. But yeah, I mean, Xiye was having a really rough early game, just dying constantly, and he's tied up with death with Aux on this Rell, and he's been underwhelming. I want to see him being one of those pivotal engage makers for the team and starting the fight, but instead they kind of just sit there and wait for LGD to kick it off. And I feel like until Suning are finding the proactivity, they're gonna continue to struggle in this one. We do see the Infinity Edge picked up by Aphelios. He's also got that quick poke as well, so at this point you're kind of hitting critical mass for how much damage this champion's doing.
Yeah, I feel like you're like an item and a half over Huanfeng on the Kaisa, and we know Kaisa can be super deadly in the later game. Just the sheer damage that can come out, but also the killer instinct to get you where you need to go. But right now is the moment to strike for LGD. They need to continue to up this pace, use this gold advantage and the item advantage that they've gotten to continue to find wins, to press Suning and make them uncomfortable. It's hard to do so when you're sparing on objectives, right? Like, we're still just waiting around for this next dragon. It'll be soul point for one of these teams. Very, very important, especially because it's an Infernal Soul.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Infernal Soul always has value, just that extra damage, never going to be complained about, and is one of the strongest ones as well. Like, the extra Infernal Dragon stacking up is more AD for that Aphelios. I keep harping on about it because it's pretty important. Right now, we see bot lane being pushed in by Fearness, top side being pushed in, so Xiye will just be able to grab that. You kind of want to get your waves in a good position before moving over that dragon. At least a bare minimum for Suning to lose gold if they're not responding to those, but at this point, it's now sort of getting control of the dragon area. Now, with it being an Infernal Soul map and the terrain being reduced a bit, it's actually quite a bit easier for Suning to move through and contest the river. Don't have to walk all the way around that wall of blue buff and can just cut through. So they very quickly sweep in and start to try and establish vision. And this is vital because, as I said many times, you need to kill Kramer. Best way to kill Kramer is to get a flank. Best way to get a flank is get vision control behind them and deny their own vision. So there's a few steps and they are starting to hit those, but really I'm looking for that angle, that approach, because this is the only way I'm going to set this up is Kramer must die if Suning want to win.
That's the goal here for Suning, as they had gotten a lot of vision, but LGD moved right in, sweep it out, take the dragon here, as well as LGD just take the onus that Suning were backing. They move towards the top side of the map and they'll secure Soul Point.
Yeah, and it feels like Suning were trying to go for a Baron rush, but they saw the control ward and opted against it. Which, I mean, I think opting against it's the right call, but feels kind of a bit poor, or like weak to just give up the dragon for nothing, essentially. They didn't gain very much off the back of that. There was no cross-map play. It was, okay, you guys take dragon, we'll stand over here while you do so.
We'll clear out some vision, or like, you know, get a couple wards over here or something like that. But now with that being the way it is, you know, we have a lot of focus for both these teams towards the Baron pit. That's where the next vision control game is going to have to be played. And Suning realized that they're trying to move in as a 4-man stack here, with Ben joining a little bit later. But LGD found the first fight. At least they wanted it. Mark was right there for a re-engage if they wanted to, but Shadow did take a decent amount of health chunk there, so not going to feel confident in the engage. Fearness on the flank could find it, though. It's a very stacked combo when you have all 5 of them together, though. Ben does find Xiye, just a little bit trading between them. He's looking for the kick. The showstopper comes out, but LGD have found the rest of the team. Now they're going to go help Xiye. There's the paranoia. Can they pick apart Suning? Shadow up in front, but they can get the refight by Suning. Suning going in with the Magnet Storm, the equalizer, the combo. Suning! Can they get the damage down? They don't have it! Aux, what do they do when they can't find the kills? They found Kramer, but they lose everybody.
They managed to take him down, but so much damage came in return at this point. It looks like even killing Kramer wasn't quite enough. LGD crushed the fight and are going to start wrecking the base of Suning. With these death timers, I didn't think it just ends.
There's 20 seconds still on. They might just be able to get this inhib at least. If they just want to go for the end, they could. They have a lot of damage from Fearness, who is stacked up to infinity right now, and they're going for it. They smell blood in the water. They're going for the throat here as LGD, they want to take that step forward. They want to go to 9th place, and the Nexus is all that stands in the way as LGD take down Suning.
And a deserved victory by all means. LGD were crushing in game 1, and then in this 3rd game, able to come on ahead. Kramer on the Aphelios just could not be dealt with, and finally, after all this time, when we see them take him down, so much damage fires back in return. They get absolutely crushed, and the dive composition of Suning falls.
And the smiles on the faces of LGD are all I need. Shadow smiling from ear to ear right now with his performances in the LPL. Take that bow, LGD, as you deserve it. What a series from both sides of the rift. I have to say, there were a lot of strengths that we could see burbling to the top for Suning. It just didn't come out fully, and LGD were able to execute better on the day. But there is so much hope for both of these squads.
Absolutely. I mean, we definitely saw moments from Suning in that game 2 where they're able to steadily build up their advantage in the game, and it felt like LGD just didn't really have options. But you can see when LGD finds momentum or the game gets a bit messy, they really excel. And honestly, we were critical of Kramer, talking about the inconsistency, but he had his solid performances today. We saw him find the windows, and particularly the Aphelios game, it felt like he was just doing so much damage and was such a pivotal piece that had to be dealt with. And it even came when we found the engage from Suning. He went down, but Suning still fell.
Yeah, I loved it because we were setting up the whole time like, you get Kramer, it's over. Suning, you take it. They full in. They were listening. They were buying the gospels. They were buying into the full thought process there. Didn't matter. The rest of the composition just came online at the right moment, and I want to go back to the point you were making, that LGD thrive in that chaos. They thrive in the moments where they get the early advantages and they can feel confident. That's where Shadow succeeds so heavily in his pathing, where that confidence lies. And I just think there's only an upward trajectory here for LGD. Is yes, they will have some tough tasks to handle further on down the line, but this is a statement win, I feel like, for them.
And the things I really loved seeing was, particularly in that game 3, Shadow knew he didn't have the mid priority that cost him so heavily in game 2. So he specifically pushed for the proactive ward on the red buff. He made sure he was pathing on the opposite side from SofM. He didn't give a window for the Rumble to apply the same pressure that he did in game one. So really good navigation of a matchup where you don't necessarily have things stacked as much in your favor. And then we saw a scenario where the game developed out. And as you said, that last fight, they managed to kill Kramer. But it just feels like when you have that many melee champions who all get up into that mix, it's just prime time for the composition of LGD to flourish.
Yeah.
The dive was there, but it just didn't quite do enough. Kramer survived for too long. And I feel like the shield bow coming out, definitely a factor in that. And the Runan's really favoring those tight scenarios.
And another game where one of the teams doesn't get a tower, 7-0 in favor of LGD. Just complete domination in that aspect of it. And I just have to say, I'm also like, there's a little part of my heart that's just so happy for Fearness, right? Like in this third game, being able to pick up the Nocturne and have a huge say in how the game went because of the top lane advantage, because of the way Bin played that matchup, and to synergize that with the rest of the comp. Those paranoias were on point the entire game, and Fearness is really showing up to bolster the rest of his team.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there was a top gap this game. Bin looked underwhelming and fell massively far behind, essentially just off the 1v1. But credit to Fearness, he applied that pressure, found that window, and as a result, caused a sore point that SofM had to respond to. I would have loved to see SofM playing bot lane, you know, hurt the Aphelios, give the laning advantage, because you have a Rell Kaisa who want to be diving in. They don't want to be just sitting in the lane farming waves and getting poked down. But because you were forced to defend the top lane, you ended up having to sacrifice areas of the map that you obviously wouldn't want to. So I think all around LGD, a lot of praises can be said for the entire roster. I will say though, Xiye, that game 3, a little bit rough, but not everyone's gonna have a perfect series.
I was gonna say something about it, but you know, let sleeping dogs lie sometimes. And Xiye, I feel like, has had enough performances in other fashions that leave him a little bit of wiggle room here. Let the rest of his team carry him. But yeah, no, it's really interesting to see the different shades of Xiye we can get on the day. And I want to give a special shout out to Angel here. I know he was on the losing team today, but I think Angel had such a good performance. We've seen time and time again this guy just be so good with the combination of his team, right? When the team is synergizing Rell, they look so good, but specifically and individually, Angel looks so darn good for Suning. So hopefully they can tie it together, find some ways to really make that synergy shine through in those late game decision makings. But Aux, that's gonna do it for us. It has been an absolute pleasure to cast alongside you for this first series. We got more games to get to. We got other casters to get to. As we step away for this break, we will have LNG versus IG casted by Hysterix and Dagda.